Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to a new lecture on English thought and culture. This lecture will be a review, just to review what we have discussed in the last 7 lectures. So we talked about the objectives, the goals of this course. Just to refresh your memories, I talked with you about these objectives, that this course focuses on the factors, roles, and aspects that have influenced the English thought and culture. It presents the foundations of European or Western thought and culture. It highlights the contributions of Arabic and Islamic culture and civilization to the Western thought and culture in general. It provides students with tools, skills for cross-cultural communication and dialogue with others. How to have a very effective dialogue with others, particularly those in the West. How to understand them, how to approach them in the right way. Then I discussed the main definitions: English, thought, and culture. I explained that English is a West Germanic language. And pay attention. This can be part of your final exam. I might ask you about definitions. English is a West Germanic language that was first spoken in England, and is now the most widely used language in the world. So if I ask you about the definition of English, or I might give you choices, 4 choices, for example, A, B, C, and D. So you can choose one of them based on this definition. It is spoken as a first language by a majority of the inhabitants of several nations, including the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, and a number of Caribbean nations. It is widely learned as a second language. You know, most of us taking this course, taking English or learning English as a second or as a foreign language. So it's widely learned as a second language, and is, the English language is an official language of the European Union. So it is an official language of the European Union, many Commonwealth countries, and the United Nations. So the United Nations or the European Union use English, as well as in many world organizations. It has been widely propagated around the world, becoming the leading language internationally. So English is a leading language internationally. Thought. What is thought? Thought generally refers to any mental or intellectual activity involving an individual's subjective consciousness. It can refer either to the act of thinking or the resulting ideas or arrangements of ideas. Thinking, thought. What is your thought? Thought, الفكر, in general. Whether, as it says here, the process or the act of thinking, the process of thinking, I'm thinking now, or just the resulting ideas, the outcome. What is the ultimate, end of your thinking. Thought underlies almost all human actions and interactions. Culture. What is culture? Culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals. So we have art, law, morals, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man, by a person, by a human being, as a member of a certain society. As a member of society. Culture equals the beliefs, social forms, features, and traits of a racial, religious, or social group. So this is a quick review. Then we discussed foundations and factors influencing the English thought and culture. I chose some major factors. I thought this is part of my thinking, this is part of my thought, based on, my experience for more than 25 years dealing with the West, going to the United States for 7 years, reading massively, preparing for this course. I found out that there are 7 major factors that affect thought and culture in general, and the English thought and culture in specific. Number 1, invasions, just like the Germanic invasions. Roman and Greek effects, the influences of the Roman and Greek civilizations. Religions play a great role in our behaviors, in our beliefs, in our actions and reactions. Number 4, theories, movements, and revolutions. Number 5, media and technology. Number 6, geography and location. The location of Europe or England is a factor, is an influencing factor on thought and culture. Number 7, contributions of other nations. Nations learn from each other. Nations in general exchange ideas, exchange things. So Europe or England in specific got many things from other nations. And we will discover in this course, inshallah, we'll discover more about the contributions of other nations and cultures, like what? Like the Islamic and Arabic contributions. In a more thorough way, we talked about invasions, and I would like to add crusades. Crusades, on the other hand, were, kind of wars against the Middle East, against Islam in general. The crusades, al-hurub al-salibiyya. This is the meaning of crusades, al-hurub al-salibiyya. So invasions, when the Germanic tribes invaded Britain, they affected the people there. Similarly, when Europe, including England, when they invaded the Middle East, more specifically, Jerusalem, Palestine, and the other Islamic or Arabic countries, there was a great exchange of influence They have influenced us, and we, Muslims and Arabic, or Arabs in general. So Islamic and Arabic civilization influenced them too. So it is like a highway. They go or they give and take. Language affects thought and culture. Your language affects your thought and culture. Origin and history of English. We learned more about the Germanic invasions and how they invaded Britain in the 5th century. In the 5th century, they invaded Britain and they brought their culture, their thought, their languages, which were mixed with the local, ideas, local culture, and then we had English. Germanic invaders entered Britain on the east and south coasts in the 5th century. In the 5th century. Many cultural, social, economic, military, and political events led to the development of English from its Germanic roots. English originated as a common language of West Germanic tribes who invaded and populated Britain. I have not enough time. Let me go faster. This is a good diagram, a good figure, shows some origin and history of English, and it shows also some varieties of English. Same thing. Then we talked about Old English. Remember the dates. By the way, let me remind you, I would like to focus on the dates. I will ask you in the final exam about some dates. So just try to remember them. Old English. You have the dates there. The invading Germanic tribes spoke similar languages which developed into what we now call Old English. About half of the most commonly used words in modern English have Old English roots. The words be, strong, and water, for example, derive from where? From Old English. So the roots are taken from Old English. I mean, the roots of these words, be, strong, and water, are coming from Old English. Middle English. The Normans invaded England. They brought with them what? A kind of French. They brought with them French, which became the language of the royal court and the ruling and business classes. It became the language of the VIP, the elite. For a period, there was a kind of linguistic class division. What do you mean by that? There were two main divisions: the lower class and the upper class. The lower class spoke what? Spoke English. The upper class spoke French. In the 14th century, English became dominant in Britain again, but with many French words added. Why? Because of the Norman invasion. This language is called Middle English. It was the language of who? It was the language of the great poet Chaucer. Modern English. Modern English or early modern English, remember the dates, towards the end of Middle English, a sudden and distinct change in pronunciation they call it the great vowel shift, started. So when did the great vowel shift start? Here we go. You have the answer there. With vowels pronounced or being pronounced shorter and shorter. From the 16th century, the British had contact with many peoples from around the world. Because of what? Because of the invasion, the expansion, the British expansion. This meant that many new words and phrases entered into the language. The invention of printing also meant that there was now a common language. In print, there is a common standardized language. Books became cheaper and more people learned to read. Printing also brought standardization to make it, to have a certain standard to English. Spelling and grammar became fixed. And the dialect of London became the standard. So the dialect of London, the capital, became the standard. In 1604, the first English dictionary was published. Just remember these dates. Late modern English. The main difference between early modern English and late modern English is what? Vocabulary. Vocabulary was the main difference. Late modern English has many more words arising from where? Arising from two principal factors. There are two main or major factors affecting that. Firstly, the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution and technology. So this revolution and the advanced technology created a need for new words. For example, now we have Twitter, Facebook, Internet, as well as other, like tweet, Twitter. So these words were not, known in the past. So the technology using the Internet created new words. Secondly, the British Empire. The British Empire, as I mentioned, when it spread, when it expanded, so the British Empire at its height covered 1/4 of the earth. ربع. الأرض was conquered or invaded by the British. And the English language adopted foreign words from many countries. Varieties of English. There are varieties of English around the world, including what? American English, British English, Australian English, New Zealand English, Canadian English, South African English, Indian English, and then we have Caribbean English. Today, American English is more influential. So American English is so powerful. American English is more influential due to the USA's dominance of cinema, television, trade, and technology, including what? Including the Internet. A brief chronology of English. I would like you to focus on these things now, just to make it easy for you. Okay? I would like you to focus on this page, the first page, okay, from 55 BC to 1066. Okay, this is good for you to focus on for your final exam. And then I would like you to focus on this sheet or this part. This one I will delete it just for your convenience, to make it easier for you, because I got some emails and some calls from students asking about this timetable or this, schedule. So this part is cancelled. I would cancel it. I will delete it. It's not part of your materials. Just forget it. And then I would like you to review the last part. Is it clear? So I would like you to focus on the last part. I might ask you some questions from here. There, just forget it. Forget it. Here, yes. And there is included. Okay. This is the only part deleted or cancelled. Okay. Now let me go to another part. Foundations and factors, again, influencing the English thought and culture. So number one is what? Invasions. Number two, or part two, Greek and Roman effects. So English has borrowed many Greek words. This borrowing happened centuries before our current use of English. English is considered a Germanic language. So English is what? Is considered a Germanic language, but has been strongly influenced by French. I can ask you questions on this part too. Ancient Greek philosophy. Ancient Greek philosophy arose in the 6th century BCE and continued through the Hellenistic period, at which point ancient Greece was incorporated in the Roman Empire. Many philosophers today maintain that Greek philosophy has influenced much of Western thought since its beginning. So today's philosophers suggest that the Greek philosophy has influenced greatly the Western thought since its beginning. We have a statement there. It says, Alfred Whitehead noted, the safest general characterization of the European philosophical tradition is that it consists of a series of footnotes to Plato. Clear and broken lines of influence lead from ancient Greek and Hellenistic philosophers to the what? To the European Renaissance and Enlightenment. So it has affected the European thought and culture greatly. Quickly, let me go over main and great philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. This is an image depicting Plato. Those great philosophers had a great impact on the Western philosophy and thought. So these great Greek philosophers, recognized as founders of Western philosophy and thought: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So I would like you to go over the whole slides, focus on them, study them well. A great deal of your materials are chosen here as a review, and this will be covered basically or mainly in your final exam. Then we go to the ancient Greece and Roman and their influence on modern Western civilization. So the Greeks had a massive influence on life today. They were the first to develop democracy. So I would like to go over the rest of the text. I don't have enough time now to go over the whole thing, but I summarized for you the main points. The Roman Empire. Again, I would like you to go over it and read it carefully, critically. Part of your final exam will be from this material. The Roman Empire and Christianity. This is another, dimension, another important dimension of the effect of Christianity on England or on Europe in general. Christianity became the state religion of the Roman Empire in 380 AD. So I would like you to go and discover more, try to discover more about the Roman Emperor Constantine, who converted to Christianity. That was what? A decisive moment of victory for Christianity. Constantine's conversion to Christianity is a decisive moment. So please, I don't have enough time to go over all this, but I'd like you to read it carefully. Then go to the Council of Nicaea. When was that? What was the date? What is the main theme of this council? So try to remember and study this carefully. How about Trinity? What is Trinity? What's meant by Trinity according to Christians? So Trinity means God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. All these things affect the thought and the culture, which includes beliefs. Culture includes beliefs. And this is part of the beliefs of the Christians in Europe or in the world in general. Part 3, religions. Part 3, religions. The main religions that have existed in Europe, UK, and USA, and their influences on the English thought and culture, etc. Christianity, Judaism, Islam. We have other religions, other Eastern religions, like what? Like Buddhism, Hinduism, and we have other dogmas. How about atheism and other issues that I will discuss, God willing, in the upcoming lecture. So this is briefly what we have discussed in the last 7 lectures. I wish you all success. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.